Hello everybody, I'm Guillaume Alvarez and I'm happy to have you back for this week's episode of the Racebook Show to keep you updated with the latest from the world of karting. In today's program, we bring you the latest from the third edition of the IAME Winter Cup in Valencia. We get back on the round 3 and 4 of the Supercut USA Winter Series in Miami, Florida. We take a look at the upcoming round 2 of the Florida Winter Tour as part of the Rock Cup USA. We preview the 24th edition of the Winter Cup taking place in Lonato, Italy. Let's start our press review with Zane Maloney, who's gonna be making his big move from karting to single-seater this season after signing with Team Carlin in the British F4 Championship. That's refreshing news for the young Barbadian of 15 years old after making some good progress over the years in karting. His latest performance included a brilliant second place in the senior category of the SCUSA Super Nationals 22, a third place in the German Karting Championship, a third place at the WSK Champions Cup, and a fourth place in the FIA Karting European Championship. So that's a brand new adventure for Zane and we wish him the best. Two other news regarding former karting drivers now. Last week, some of you might have seen Lando Norris testing with his former team, Ricky Fling Motorsport, on the Soft Garda circuit of Lonato. That might be a good occasion to read, if you haven't yet, the special interview that we did with him where he talks about his early years and the challenges that he has faced going from karting to F1. That's always nice to see all the drivers getting back to their karting roots. We've seen that recently with Nick De Vries, George Russell and Alex Albon, who was spotted doing some laps around the Soft Garda karting circuit as well. And talking about Alexander Albon, this is no longer a secret that he will be driving in Formula 1 in 2019 in a car that the Scuderia Toro Rosso has just revealed earlier this week. And if you didn't know yet, we had the pleasure of interviewing Alex Albon in this exclusive two-piece article that you can find right now on theracebox.com. Next in the news, you may remember this article that we published last month about the new regulation from the CIK FIA prohibiting the warm-up of engines in the karting paddock. This is a change that has led to some critics from our readers, but the news is the rule has been applied for the first time last weekend at the IAME Winter Cup in Valencia. And while it wasn't strictly followed that no penalties were given in the end, it still worked for most of the part in creating a silent paddock for everyone. Of course, there's room for improvement, especially in the shifter categories using the 175cc engines that actually require more time for warming up because of a bigger displacement and a specific type of carburetor. And talking about gearbox classes, the shifter category has tested in Valencia a new type of carburetor, similar to the one developed by Supercut USA. Overall, while the system seemed to be faster, the drivers didn't find it quite easy to set up for reliable running. So most of them preferred to use the older generation of the Dell'Orto carburetor. It seems that for the time being, both options, so the old and the new one, will be more allowed in the future, but we'll keep you up to date with that. Let's kick off the reviews of the week with the IAME Winter Cup, of which you can find our complete report on theracebox.com for Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The third edition of the event, organized by RGMMC, took place last weekend on the Cartodromo Valencia in Spain. And once again, RGMMC, that you know as well from the IAME X30 Euro Series and especially the FIA Karting European and World Championships, put on a great effort to welcome teams and drivers in a very nice, warm and festive paddock that featured for the first time this year a Latin-themed hospitality with fresh paella and a variety of dishes that were served and that added to the nice atmosphere during the 4 days of activity. Over the years, more and more drivers consider the IAME Winter Cup as a perfect opportunity to get some serious pre-season racing, and the third edition of the event has proved it by beating its own entry record with 200 drivers from 16 countries on track. One of them, the Spaniard Carles Martinez, welcomes you on the Cartodromo Lucas Guerrero of Valencia in Spain. Here he comes for an onboard lap around the twisty and challenging circuit with the commentary of Jake Sanson.
Let's ride on board with Carlos Martinez for Praga, España for a lap of the Lucas Guerrero kartdrome in Valencia. 140 kilometers down the straight, then down to third gear, a whisker over 70k, stay off the curbs throughout for a smooth run. Down to second gear, blipping the throttle at 60, turn into the right and hug the apex, but these shifter karts can't be riding the curbs. You're hitting 2.5G through the run to the tight right-hander, second gear for both right and left hairpins, but now you're back on the power and you're flat through each of these 3 left-hand apexes, placing the kart in the middle of the road for the best grip and power advantages. Heavy braking now, dropping down to 46 kilometers, the slowest corner on the circuit, in second for both the left and right, but you have time to come up to third in between. Now back on the power, but as you turn in for the fourth gear right-hander, just a subtle lift will get you through. Now you can get on the gas, you're just out at sixth gear and 136 kilometers before you gently lift through the right sweeper, then brake, coax the cart in for the final chicane, but again stay off the curbs in second gear for the first right. You can stand on the throttle again for a brilliant lap.
A few adjustments have added to the top-level quality of the event. First, as we mentioned, the regulations followed in line with the new standards of the CIK FIA to prohibit the warm-up of engines in the karting paddock and put homologated tires for all international events. Also, the Ayame X30 technical specifications were updated to include new carburetors for the shifter class and revised exhaust systems for the juniors and seniors. And all in all, those changes proved to be successful by creating a nice and peaceful atmosphere in the paddock, while ensuring a top-level quality of racing on track. Racing-wise, let's start with the mini class, where British driver Freddie Slater from Fusion Motorsport has produced a nearly perfect weekend in Valencia. First in qualifying, winner of 2 heats, winner of his pre-final, and he concluded his weekend as he had entered it in front of the field after dominating the final race from pole to the flag in front of Tiziano Manza and Leo Robinson. In the juniors now, another driver from Great Britain who found his way around the Cartódromo Valencia is Oliver Beeman from KS Sport. On Friday, he was 4th in the qualifying session and leader of his group. On Saturday, he finished 1st in the provisional ranking with 3 heats won. And on Sunday, he fought hard to win both the pre-final and the final against a strong opposition. In second place, we had Alex Slade before he was penalized with a 10-second penalty for what was considered by the marshals as a bad maneuver on track. He finished 19 overall in the ranking and actually allowed Josh Rowledge to recover second place in front of Oli Pilka. As for his two fellow countrymen, Slater and Beerman, Dean McDonald hasn't missed the opportunity either to make the Union Jack colours shine in the senior class. With pole position on Friday, 4 heat victories on Saturday and the victory as well in the pre-final and the final on Sunday, the driver from Strawberry Racing hasn't done things by half this weekend. Thanks to a good start, McDonald pulled away, controlled his gap and led the race from start to finish. Finishing in second place was Joe Turney with his teammate and last year's class winner Clayton Ravenscroft behind him in third. One thing to mention about Joe Turney, the Yame final winner has certainly done one of the most spectacular recoveries of the entire Yame Winter Cup. Check this out. On Saturday after the heats, he was out of the top 28, then forced to go into the second chance heat that he concluded in 4th position. A result that gave him access to the pre-final, where he drove his way from 32nd on the grid to 5th position, to finally access the last race of the weekend where he eventually stepped on the podium. Another similar impressive performance was pulled off by Joey van Splutteren. The Dutchman came all the way from the bottom after also missing out on the top 28 on Saturday. He was 20th on the pre-final grid, then recovered to 13 to eventually finish 7th overall on Sunday afternoon. Finally, the shifter final turned into real chaos for Kaspar Corius. The Estonian driver had showed great pace in Valencia with pole position on Friday, 1 heat victory on Saturday and handed a win in the pre-final on Sunday morning. But his weekend fell apart in the final start when a contact with Carlos Leon sent him in the barriers. But in the end, Corius was not the only one having a rough day. His strongest opponents on track, Carlos Martinez, also had to retire just a few laps into the race after fighting for the lead. A ton of events that eventually opened the door for Brad Benavides, who won the shifter final in front of Kevin Ludi and Philip Sewer. To conclude on this year's edition of the Ayame Winter Cup, it's worth mentioning that the 4 winners, Freddie Slater, Oliver Beeman, Dean McDonald and Brad Benavides, will be all awarded a full Yame Series entry fees. That includes the first day free practice fees, but also racing slick tires and 1 liter of racing oil per race. Also, the other podium finishers will receive 1 Yame Euro Series entry fees that include as well first day free practice, race slick tires and oil. So this gives us a little break with the Ayame calendar. Next stop at the end of March in Mariembourg in Belgium for the start of the X30 Ayame Euro Series. Now over to Miami, Florida to check out with you the last 2 rounds of the Supercat USA Winter Series.
Here's Lorenzo Travasanuto doing what he does best on the Homestead reverse layout for the SK USA season finale in Miami. A direct right-hander to start the lap with plenty of runoff, then a medium leg straight to reach the braking zone for 2. Out of the right-hander but carry the acceleration through turn 3 with lots of curb on the inside and exit. Heavy braking required for the next 2 turns. First the hairpin to the right, then again to the left, but it widens on exit and you can carry the speed throughout the next left despite a tight angle. Carry lots more through the next right, but you'll need to come off the power as a sharp braking point follows and the cart wants to get loose. You'll build up the speed for a straightforward 180-degree hairpin to the right, and that sets you up for a fine run to the next chicane. On the brakes for the left-hander, but you've slowed the cart enough to charge back through the right, flat on the throttle. You'll only need a gentle dab of the brakes heading into the final turn, and the instant you turn in, you'll apply the throttle once more to blast you back down the home stretch.
1 month after round 1 and 2, teams and drivers were back on the Amstat Miami Motorplex, this time run in the reverse direction to spice things up before the conclusion of the series. In the senior class, the entire weekend turned into demonstration for Ryan Norber. After winning 1-1, the Supercut USA Pro 2 champion took 2 more victories on Saturday and Sunday. Unfortunately for him, reigning FIA karting world champion Lorenzo Trovasanotto finished twice at the edge of the top 10 after fighting for the lead. In the Pro Shifter class now, the leading man AJ Myers had a rough Saturday with 2 DNF for technical failure in the pre-final and the final, where Billy Musgrave took the win. But on Saturday, roles got reversed when Musgrave had to retire for round 4 and Myers bounced back to conclude the series on top. In that same race, but in the Master Shifters, Jordan Mercer was again untouchable with 2 wins in 2 days. The senior category smiled upon the Canadian driver Mackenzie Clark, who signed his first national event victory after passing Diego Contecha in the closing laps of the round 3. Second on Saturday, Luca Mars took his revenge the day after by winning the last final of the weekend, with Mackenzie Clark again on the podium. Defeated by Rodrigo Piquet in round 1, Renato David aligned 3 wins in a row to claim the master category. In the K100 junior class, Santiago Biaggi emerged as a driver to beat and won both rounds, while Nathan Martin and Julia Bos shared victories in the senior classification. A quick word now about the rest of the classes. In the mini Swift, Christian Miles took his first win of the series on Saturday, before point leader Kai Sorensen did the same on Sunday. In the Micro Swift, Matthias Orwella showed no mercy for the opposition by winning both rounds. Finally, Colin Warren and Jake Copeland took 1 final each in the Bricks 206 Junior, with the master ranking going to Eli Yanko and Andre Douay. Now that the Winter Series is officially behind us, the Supercut USA calendar is taking a little break before the kickoff event of the 2019 Pro Tour season. This will be the Winter Nationals, to take place at the first weekend of March on the CalSpeed Karting Center of Fontana, California. And that's an event that we will review, of course, in one of our next episodes. To stay on American soil, the Rock Cup USA powered by Vortex Engines comes back this weekend with the round 2 of the Florida Winter Tour taking place once again in the Hard Rock Stadium of Miami. Compared to round 1, no soft guard layout this time, but a track featuring the same corners as the circuit Alain Prost in Le Mans. We will also have 9 categories, this time without the Bricks 206 Junior and Senior, but well with the 100cc Junior and the tires provided by Bridgestone and the fuel by Sunoco for the entire weekend. Let's give you now a quick reminder of the previous winners in round 1. In January, lady driver Chloe Chambers ruled the first race in the 100cc Junior class. In the seniors, Christian Brooks won the final in impressive fashion, just like Luca Mars did in the juniors, after a crazy race that saw Brent Cruz lose his win because of a penalty. In the gearbox categories, the shifter victory went to AJ Myers, who will certainly be motivated this week after his recent win in the Supercut USA. Finally, the shifter master category was won by Renato David, while Kai Sorensen took the mini class and Beckham Jassir the micro. If you want more information about the past round of the Florida Winter Tour of the Rock Cup USA, don't hesitate to go check the report available now on the racebox.com. And to be complete about this preview, let's also mention the schedule with unofficial practice session on Thursday, official practice session on Friday, followed by qualifying heat 1, then heats 2 and 3 for each of the classes on Saturday, to conclude with the pre-finals and finals on Sunday. Now we head already to the last topic of this week's episode, the Winter Cup of Lonato. The 24th edition of the race will kick off this week in the international calendar of the Soft Gardà circuit in Italy. We will have 4 categories: the Mini Rock, the OK Junior and the KZ2. Notice that the gearbox class appear for the first time in racing condition this year, and they will try to make the best use of it before entering the WSK Supermaster Series 1 week later on the same location. Regarding the drivers, we'll have more than 320 names on the entry list, including some of the biggest karting champions that we have today. Let's have a look, for example, at the multiple European and world champion Paolo De Canto, but also the former World Cup winner Bas Lammers, the presence, and that's interesting, of Giuliano Alesi, the son of the former Ferrari F1 driver Jean Alesi, and his son will be competing in F2 with Trident Racing this year. In the OK class, the reigning FIA karting world champion Lorenzo Trovasanotto will be there, of course, against other former champions including Dexter Patterson and Pedro Hilbrand. And the OK class will feature another name of a former F1 driver, David Schumacher, that we've seen lately in the UAE F4 Championship. For this weekend of competition, fuel will be provisioned by Panta, the tires by Bridgestone for the OK, the Mini Rock and the KZ2, while the OK Junior will run with Vega. About the schedule of the event, this will go as follows. We're gonna have the free practice on Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, the qualifying session on Friday, followed by 36 qualifying heats from Friday evening to Sunday morning, just before the weekend comes to an end with the superheat and the finals on Sunday afternoon. As usual, be sure to check out the racebox.com to follow the event. So guys, that's where we leave this week's episode of the Racebox Show. Thank you again for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of the Racebox. Follow us as well on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I was your host, Guillaume Alvarez, and I will find you soon for the next episode. Thank you very much. Bye bye.